Hi everyone, welcome to Glen Yoga. My name's Rachel and I'm going to take you today through a really nice practice that's designed for stress relief. So this is a yin practice, so we're going to be holding the poses for around about 2 to 3 minutes, and we're going to be focusing a little bit around the lower body. Sometimes that's an area of our bodies that can hold a lot of tension, perhaps without us realising it. So we're going to just give ourselves a little bit of time and space to really work into that area, whilst also touching upon some of the other body parts as well. But lots of really nourishing stretches, lots of opportunities to relax, dial down any anxiety, dial down any stress, and just have a really, really lovely and fulfilling practice. So I'm not going to be using any props for this practice, but if you do want to have any to hand, that's absolutely fine as always. Just make sure you've got a couple of blocks available if you have them. Maybe a bolster, some pillows, anything that you want to have to hand that just makes some of the poses that little bit more accessible or that little bit more comfortable. So let's get started. So we're going to start off in a butterfly fold. So I'm going to do this one straight onto camera so everyone can see what I'm doing. So just coming down to sit on your mat, grinding down into the sits bones, and then we're just going to take the soles of our feet to touch in front of us. And it's really up to you how near to your body or how far away from your body your feet become. I probably am going to be not quite zipped all the way in, but also not quite too far out today. I think I'll just bring them about halfway along. And I just want you to spend just a second here, just before we start to fold, just giving the feet a little bit of attention. One of the things that we sometimes find in yoga is that we don't always pay enough attention to the feet. They're on some poses that give us a little bit of time to stretch into the feet. We've got toe squats and things like that, but they're not a mainstay of every single practice that we do. So just where there's a possibility and where there's a moment's pause, just an opportunity to give the feet a little bit of a massage, a little bit of a rub, particularly around the arch areas, which tend to have, a lot of pressure, a lot of strain on them day to day. So just giving them a little bit of attention before we come into our fold. And that can just feel really nice before we begin. And again, the theme of today's session is stress relief. So during this practice, if there are any moments where we can just be giving other parts of our bodies just that little bit of focus, as well as the focus of the particular pose, let's do that. If there's an opportunity to give the neck and the head a little bit of work as we go, the feet, anything like that, the hands, let's do what we can to just relieve stress wherever we find it. So to come into our butterfly fold, we're just going to relax the knees down and away. We're going to grind down through the sits bones, and then when we're ready, we're just going to start to really gently fold forward. And remember, because this is a yin practice, we're not looking for that flat back. We're not using the feet to pull ourselves forward. We're just taking the head down, nice curved back, and just letting the head rest wherever feels comfortable. And that can be anywhere. You might be someone who is very, very close to the floor. You might be someone who's a little bit further up like this. Just wherever you are at this particular time in the day, at this particular point in your practice. And just relax there. And the nice thing about this practice, particularly if we're not using any props, is over time, your body will just naturally relax into the pose that little bit more. As with most forward folds in yin, it's always a good idea to just make sure you're not giving yourself any temptation to push yourself further. So it can be nice to just lay the palms facing the ceiling, forearms on the floor. Nice deep breath in and out. Closing down the eyes and just enjoying this stretch into the hips, the inner groin, the hamstrings, the knees, and just pausing here to relax. Just let the head be heavy. We'll ease out of this pose really gently. So you can use the palms just to start to walk your way back up to a seated position. And we're going to come into a swan pose next, into sleeping swan. So I'm just going to move over onto hands and knees to get into this position. So we're going to start with the right leg. So we're going to take the right leg behind, so that the knee is behind the right wrist, and just let the left leg be long. So your front leg, your right leg, will look something like, you'll either be a bit straighter onto the front edge of the mat, or if your foot's coming down a little bit closer to the groin, that's absolutely fine too. Just find a nice comfortable position. Check that the back leg is nice, long and straight. And we'll just take a second here just to find the space and the right spot for this pose for our bodies. You're wanting to make sure that both of your hips are kind of grinding down into the floor. If for whatever reason the right hip is a little bit lifted off the floor, or the right bum is not quite on the floor, you can slip a block underneath that part of the body if needed, just to give that a little bit of support. And just find that position that works for you. And as I said before, just while we're in these poses, if there's any other sort of gentle motion that feels nice and that just feels really stress relieving, do that while you're there. So I just find a little bit of a rock from side to side while I'm just getting into this pose is really, really nice. And then when we're ready, we're just going to start to lower down, and you can come down to your forearms here and just almost have your hands as if you were in Sphinx pose, just looking straight ahead or bowing the head down. Or if you want to come a little bit further, you can come down onto the hands and just rest here. A lot of these poses where we close our eyes and we're coming into almost our own little personal space here, they're so stress relieving. We're really putting the rest of the outside world to one side for a second and just enjoying this time in the darkness, just looking inward. Nice deep breath. And to come out of this, we'll just raise the head if you had the head down. Come back up to the palms and slowly walk back up. And we'll come out of this leg position really gently, so it's quite useful to just maybe put a little bit of weight on your palms, lift up onto that left knee, and then you can slide the right knee back to meet it. And that's been quite an intense stretch for the right leg, so you might just want to just stretch it out. Just give it a little bit of attention before we move onto the second side. Okay, so coming back to our kneeling position, we're going to take the left leg this time and take the left knee behind the left wrist, just stretching into that back leg and just coming into a position that feels comfortable for you. So wherever that front leg is, whether it's kind of parallel with the front edge of your mat or on a little bit more of an angle, just whatever suits you and whatever feels good for you during this practice. And again, just a little bit of gentle movement before we come forward, just a little sway, just to give a little bit of attention to that left hip before we come down, and also just allowing that right leg to stretch out and feel really good. And then when you're ready, walk your hands forward as we did on the other side, either coming to the forearms, bowing the head, or coming down onto the palms as well. And you can either have your forehead down on the palms, or you can do what I did in the last version and just turn the head slightly to the side, whatever feels best for you. And just relax. And just feel that wonderful stretch in the left glute, the hip, the hamstring. It can be quite an intense pose, this pose, so, just be guided by your body and what you need and how much of it you need. And we'll come out of this side exactly the same way as we did before. Just coming up onto the hands, nice and slowly. And then just pressing into the floor to come up onto the right knee and just sweeping the left leg back. And again, it might feel good to just stretch into that left leg a little bit. Just give that a little bit of time to feel the effects of that pose. And then we can come back to a kneeling position. Just rest onto one hip and sweep the legs out in front of us. And we're going to come into a caterpillar fold next. So again, I find this type of fold so nourishing and so good for when your mind is full, there's lots going on, quite stressed, you may be quite anxious, and I just find this action of this full body forward fold really, really helpful. So we're just going to find a comfortable seat here and then just start to drape ourselves forward. And like with the other forward folds that we do in Yin Yoga, we're not looking for a flat back. We're not looking to kind of get as far down as we possibly can. If you want to in a pose like this is a really good option for using a block just to give yourself that little bit extra support. So a bolster or a couple of blocks can be really good for this. But I'm just going to go forward and just let kind of gravity do its work and see how we get on. So just a really gentle drape forward. Again, as we did with our butterfly fold, just having the palms facing up to the ceiling. And I sometimes quite like to just rest them on top of the legs. And just relax, bending the head, relaxing the spine. Just feeling that lovely, lovely stretch from the tips of the toes all the way to the base of the skull. This is working everything. And just giving us that time and space to get into all of that connective tissue all the way down the body. And close down the eyes if that feels comfortable. And like in some of the other poses, just enjoy that private space you've created. An opportunity to just forget about everything that's in your mind. Focus on the breathing. Focus on the sensation. And let everything else go. And if you ever do get kind of pulled back into things happening in your life, things you think you need to be considering during this practice, just pull yourself back to the breath. That's all we need to think about right now. The breath and the sensation. Let's gently ease ourselves out of this pose. Just walk the palms up the legs, taking it really slowly, vertebra by vertebra, and bring the head up to center as the last thing that you do. Let's just take a second here, just in our Dandasana, our staff pose, and just flex the feet there for a second, pressing the palms into the floor, just feeling the effects of that forward fold and our practice so far. We're going to come into square pose for our next posture. So I'm going to turn to face you guys so that you can see the shape of the legs. So we're going to begin with the right foot onto the mat, along the long end of the mat for me, and then I'm going to take the left leg over the top. And what you're looking for is to really have the left ankle sitting on top of the right knee and the left knee sitting on top of the right ankle. And you may find that you have a bit of a gap under the right knee, in which case you can pop a block under there, possibly under the left. You can pop a block there as well, just for a little bit more support. Pop blocks under both if needed, whatever feels good. But also just be aware that if you do have a little bit of a gap in any place, what we'll tend to find is as that we get into the practice a little bit more into this posture, gravity and just being in the posture for a little while will just start to bring the legs closer together. So see how you feel. If you feel you need that support straight away, do so. But if you feel it's comfortable just as it is, it will all kind of come a little bit closer together as we go. And again, I think just take a second in the leg shape that we've got here before we fold forward, just to see how that feels. Kind of nice to just do a little bit of twisting in the torso, a little bit of gentle movement in the neck, just giving ourselves that little bit of extra benefit from this practice. And when you feel ready, we're just going to fold forward. So same as what we were doing in our butterfly fold, I'm just going to shimmy back slightly. Just take the palms out in front and just walk them forward as much as feels comfortable. So if this is as far as you want to go, even if you want to remain upright, whatever you feel for you, or you might want to just come a little further forward so that the forearms are down onto the ground, palms facing up, and relax. One of the other things that can affect how far you come forward here is breasts. Depending on your own situation, you might find that they get in the way of you coming forward. So just find a place that's comfortable for you, your anatomy, your body shape, wherever you want to be. And just let the head hang heavy wherever you are. And relax. And you should feel that really lovely stretch, particularly in the left glute, into the left hamstring. What we don't want is any sort of pinching and tension in the knees. So if that is the case, come out of this pose and maybe do another butterfly fold instead, or use the props just to give yourself a little bit of extra support. But this is one of my favourite poses. I get so much from this. Let's take it easy coming out of this pose, using the hands again to work our way back up to a seated position. And then we can uncross the legs and maybe just take them out in front of you, feet to the floor, and we can just gently windshield wiper the legs from side to side, just feeling the effects of that part of our practice on the left leg particularly. And we'll come over onto the second side. So this time we've got our left leg underneath and we're bringing the right leg over the top. So we've got our right ankle on top of the left knee and the right knee on top of the left ankle. And you might find that this feels completely different to that first side. I definitely find on this side, there's usually a bit more of a gap between my knee and my ankle than there was on the last side. But I know that as time goes on, that's going to close up. So I won't use a block for myself at this moment. But yeah, it can feel completely different. It can feel very different in the hips, in the thighs, the glutes on different sides. So just adjust as you need to, listen to your body, see what you need to do on that side. Again, like we did before, you know, opportunity to just work a little bit into the shoulders, the neck, just a little bit of time to just look at other parts of our body just while the legs are getting used to this particular posture. And then when it feels right for you and you feel ready, we can start to walk forward again. And again, this part of the pose might feel completely different. You might find that you were able to come down quite far the first time, but actually not as far this time. But just listen to what your body needs, what feels good today. And once you've got your hands where you need them to be, we can just bow the head and relax into this. And really enjoy the feelings that this pose gives us. And remember, for Yin, we want no muscular effort, so really relax into the legs. We don't need to tense them in order for us to really work into the connective tissue. We want them to be as relaxed as possible. Turning the hands over, starting to use them to walk ourselves back up to our seated position. And again, like before, take the legs out in front with the soles of the feet on the floor and just give a gentle windscreen wiper motion to the legs. We're going to come into our last posture for this practice now, and we can just gently ease our way all the way down onto the mat. We're going to do a stretch which is really great for the IT band. So that's the muscle that runs all the way down the side of the hip, side of the leg. And again, one of those kind of areas of the body that will get some work through other poses, but this is a great one which is intended to actually assist with that part of the body. So yeah, a really nice pose to do and a lovely one to do to finish off as well. So you're going to keep your left foot onto the mat and then take the right leg up and cross your right foot over your left knee. And it's almost as if we were coming into a reclined kind of figure four pose where we'd put our arms through and pull the legs in towards us. But this time what we're going to do is just let the leg fall to the side. And just in that position, just let the legs fall over to the left. And then what you can do is we want the right knee to be pointing up to the ceiling as much as possible. So you can grab hold of the ankle on the right foot and just kind of encourage it into the right position. And when you're in the right position, you will start to feel that really lovely stretch all the way down the side body there, down the side of the hip, the side of the leg. And then let's take the right arm out to the side and really breathe into this lovely stretch on the side of that body. And just keep your head central, gaze looking at the ceiling, or close down the eyes, whichever feels good for you. And keep the right foot grounded onto the floor as much as possible, and that'll really encourage this lovely stretch. I haven't done an IT band stretch like this for a few weeks actually, so yeah, I'm definitely feeling it today. That feels really good. come out of this pose. If you had your left hand just helping the right foot stay in the right position, just release that and you can just take the legs back up to center. Take your right foot back down to join the left on the mat, and we can prepare to come across to the other side. So this time around we're taking our left foot and having the left ankle just sitting over the top of the right knee. Let's just let them fall to the side. Right hand can come to the left ankle, left arm goes out to the side, and just feel that lovely pull in the left side body and down the IT band. And just keeping that left foot grounded onto the floor and the left knee facing the ceiling. And gently come out of the pose on this side. So like before, releasing the foot if you had hold of that and just bringing the legs back up to center, releasing the left leg down and bringing the hands back by our side. And we're going to come into Shavasana now. So we're just stretching the legs out in front of us, hip width distance apart. Palms can come down to our sides, facing the ceiling. And just relax here. If you want to get cozier, if you want to use a blanket or pillows or anything like that, please feel free to do so. But this is the culmination of what has hopefully been a really lovely stress relieving practice. Shavasana is a big part of that as well. So I would recommend to just stay here in this final resting position for as long as you feel you need. You may want 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, whatever feels good for you. Just enjoy this final part of the practice. And I want to say a huge thank you for joining me today for this practice. I hope that it's given you what you were looking for, and I hope it has relieved some stress and anxiety for you. And I hope to see you again really soon back here on the mat with me. Thank you.